Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about how you go about moving your entire life across the country. Me specifically, I'm moving to Austin, Texas, so that's kind of going to be geared towards this, but you can kind of use the information. It's relevant to wherever you want to go. So for me, I'm moving in 9 days to Austin, Texas. I cannot wait. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about like what that process is, how you go about it, and this is going to be geared towards renting. Obviously, if you're buying a house out there, things are going to be a lot different for you. But if you're renting, and then specifically with a American Bully, which is a lot of times a restricted breed in apartments, like all around the country, not want to say globally, but at least in America. So there are ways you can go around that. I'll talk a little bit about that. So let's get into it. Sorry, I just had pizza in my throat. Anyway. So that is one good thing about moving. You pack up all your pots and pans and stuff, and you're just pretty much ordering pizza and stuff every night. Pizza and cheesesteaks and hoagies, whatever. So not a lot of home-cooked meals in your last days in your final state. But in any case, for me, I got a job at Tesla Gigafactory. I start on August 15th, and so that's probably going to be priority number one. I mean, your goals may be different, but like I said, this is going to be my experience, and I'm just kind of sharing you how I go about it. Even when I moved from Philadelphia to Iowa, you know, the first thing you're going to do is need to find a source of income. So getting a job and landing a job is priority number one. I know a lot of people think that's really difficult to do, but in today's day and age, especially when after COVID hit, everyone's doing interviews through Zoom and all that stuff nowadays. So you really don't have to worry about going to a place and doing an interview now. I got the job at Austin's Gigafactory just on a phone conversation and Zoom calls. So that's number one. You're gonna have to get a job, right? So once you kind of land at that, then you can, you know, go about like your planning. Now, like if you're already in the midst of, you know, planning to get a job and doing all those things, you should probably already be doing the research. Like I've been researching Austin, Texas for a little over, I don't know, 2 years now. Obviously when I moved to Iowa, I came out here for different reasons, ex-girlfriend and all that kind of stuff. But I always wanted to move to Texas, so I always had that kind of in the back of my mind. When I actually decided to fill the application out at Tesla, that's when I started to do the research of like, all right, where am I going to live? You know, what are my resources are available to me to find a place to live? Like, do I know people out there? I do have family in the Houston area, but that's quite far away from where I'm moving. So in Austin. So the best resource I found for that and to find places is YouTube. Different YouTubers that tell you, different realtors that'll tell you like what the better areas are, kind of what the prices are and all that stuff. But like I said, getting the job is probably the most important thing. Unless you don't need a job, you know, maybe you have your own business or whatever, then things are going to be different. But if you just want to relocate and get a new job in a different state, that's going to be number one. And then you're going to kind of gauge like when your start date is to your move and all that. So for me, when I got hired by Tesla, I told them, and I was very clear about the fact that I was going to need about a month to get out there, and they were totally cool with that, and that was really helpful. So I didn't really have to rush anything. Now, unfortunately, there was a very tragic turn in events when I was involved in a very serious motorcycle accident 2 weeks ago, and I'm healed up just fine now from that, and I'm doing a lot better. But that was one of those things where it's like really bad timing. So, you know, there's always going to be like something. So I'm really glad that I had given myself that cushion. But yeah, I was involved in a motorcycle accident, hit by a car, and I was very lucky. But in any case, I asked them to give me a month, and so my start date was to be August 15th. So after I knew that, that's when I really started to plan, like, all right, where am I gonna move? And so Austin, Texas specifically, and I know like Iowa, it's different out here, but in Austin, it's really, really hard. You have to almost have impeccable credit to get into. If you have like an eviction or any kind of like delinquent payments on like energy bills or gas bills or, you know, any utility bills like that, like delinquent collection fees mainly on your credit, you're not going to get an apartment in Austin, Texas. So, you know, for me, I have pretty good credit. It's not the best. I have bankruptcies from like 9 years ago and stuff, and I did have an eviction filed against me in 2019, but I actually won that court in case, but it's still there. And one of the issues I had with one apartment was they go back so far, like they go back 3 years, and they found that that eviction filing, and they denied me my apartment. So it's just a little bit of a cost of doing business. So I found it really helpful to look for apartments that were not going back that far as their background checks go for credit. Like they only go back 2 years, so that was very helpful. I got a woman to help me by the name of Kanika Johnson. I'll leave her link below. You can use her, and you can talk to her, tell her I recommended you, and she will help you find a place in Austin if you have any kind of like delinquencies or maybe an eviction or something like that. There are options available. I had a lot of things thrown at me during this process that were going to hold me back from an apartment in Texas, and one being my dog. So Storm is an American bully, but she is a certified emotional support animal. And what that means is basically you can take your dog into apartments. They can't deny you housing. They can't restrict your breed. They can't weight restrict. None of those restrictions. You are not allowed to take the dog on an airplane. That's a totally different thing. That's service animals only. Service animals are not emotional support animals. A lot of people get that confused. I know people get emotional support animals so they can like go to Starbucks with their dogs and all that stuff. For me, I needed an emotional support dog so I could live with my dog, because I find it very annoying that apartments can deny you and restrict breeds and all that stuff. And she's a great dog, and there's really no reason for it. So I have an emotional support animal. There's only real one way to go about it. Like a lot of people get super confused about the ESA animal thing. And, you know, a lot of people go online and they get this card and they get the little vest and all that stuff. That does not certify your animal to be an emotional support dog. That is a fake website. The only actual way to do it is get a doctor's note that states your disability, a mental disability more or less, which is what an emotional support animal is. It's for, you know, mental disabilities. And you have to be very specific about what that is in that doctor's note. You have to be very specific about the breed, the weight, and all those things have to be in that note from the doctor. Has to be signed. It has to be legit. You can't, like, you can get your family doctor to do it, but all the information has to be very specific. And otherwise, the pet screening for the apartment will deny you, and then, you know, you won't be able to move your dog. And this is mainly geared for like restricted animals. Like if you have a border collie or something like that, you're probably not going to have to worry about it. But if you want to get around the pet fees, then emotional support animal is how you can do that. But like I said, if you go online and you get one of those cards, like emotional support animal cards or whatever, those are fake. They will not work. In the pet screening process, you have to get an actual doctor's note from either your family doctor, or I'll also leave a link below, where a doctor will review your situation. They will sign a certified document, and you will get that via PDF, and you can send it through the pet screening, and you should get approved. So, like I said, that doctor's note has to be specific with breed, what your condition is, like, and it has to limit you from at least one life activity. And one life activity could be a number of different things. Sleeping, for example, is a life activity that everybody needs to do. If you are depressed or stressed or whatever, and you can't sleep and you need your dog to help you sleep, that limits you from that activity. So you kind of have, that's how you do it. That's what an emotional support animal actually is. And you're allowed to take that emotional support animal on trains, buses, service, ride sharing cars, stores, restaurants, all that kind of stuff like that, but not airplanes. Airplanes are very specific. Has to be a service animal, which is a physical disability, which is a whole nother thing. Service animals you're not going to get that by some doctor's note. Okay, you got to go through training. Dogs are trained from very young age for that, so it's a lot different. But so that's the one big thing that you might have to deal with if you have a pit bull, American bully, a Stratfire Terrier, or a Doberman Pinscher, whatever, you know, restricted breed you have. That's how you get around it. So, but that law is getting tightened up a lot nowadays. It's getting harder and harder, and you know, it is what it is. So just be aware of that, and make sure you read the information and these things. Don't just pay some company and think that you have this card and you get a vest, and that now allows you to, you know, go in stores. Now, a lot of stores may not like know the law, and they really probably aren't going to look into it. But apartments specifically to rent, they will go through a pet screening process, and that pet screening process will approve you or not approve you. So I went through a little bit of trouble with that. That's how I know all this information, and that's why I'm giving it to you. But you need to get an actual doctor's note with very specifics, and that's what an emotional support animal is. So once that gets cleared, you'll be able to move into your new apartment. So that's something you're going to want to clear up and get out of the way, like way before. You don't want to do that last minute. It takes a few days to get approved. You know, you really want to get all that stuff out of the way weeks before your move-in date. Like, and for me, like my move-in date is a week before my start date at Tesla. So you want to give yourself that cushion. I'm driving out there, you know, you have to make sure, you know, what kind of truck you're going to need, or, you know, you got to consider all these things, save up money, because you have U-Haul, I have a trailer, I have a storage unit I have to get, I have, there's all kinds of variables that go into it, but I'm going to kind of get into that a little bit and dissect it. But like I said, first thing is first, you're going to have to get a job. The second thing is find yourself a place to live. I'm moving to Cedar Park, Texas, which is right outside of Austin. It's a half hour from the Tesla factory. So it's a little bit of a drive to work every day with traffic and stuff. Could take me 50 minutes at times, which is fine. I'm prepared for that, whatever. I don't have a motorcycle right now because of the accident, which, you know, it is what it is. But when I get out to Texas, I plan on getting a new one. So once you have, you know, where you're going to live, and then you can start getting into like the lease signing, when you're going to move and all that stuff. And then you're going to start to pack, and you just do really one room at a time. You want to start that as soon as possible. You don't want to wait till the last day to start packing your house. That's when things get confusing. That's when things get lost. Everything pretty much is out of the house right now and in my garage. I have everything that goes in storage on one side, everything that's going to come into the house on the other. The actual last things I'm taking are the things that I'll need right away off the truck. So like my plan is, when I get there, is I'll unload like the dog bed, the dog cage, because I don't want to run around a new apartment while I'm unloading stuff. And then it'll be like the couch, the TV, bathroom stuff, cleaning supplies, all those different things like that will be first. And then towards the back will be like my toolbox, all the stuff that goes in storage and stuff that I'm not going to need for the apartment. So what I'll do is, you know, you can load your trailer and your truck. I was gonna, originally when I had the bike, I was gonna load the motorcycle on the back of my pickup truck, and then load the pickup truck on a flatbed trailer, and then trailer the truck behind a U-Haul. I've already done that twice. Once when I towed my ex-girlfriend's BMW from California to Iowa, and then again when I towed my truck and behind a U-Haul on a flatbed trailer from the U-Haul as well. If you have something like a BMW or any kind of car like that that has a differential in the back, you're going to need to put it on a flatbed trailer, not the two-wheel tow hitch, because you'll blow the gearbox of your car. You could blow the rear of your trucks. So you really need to like either disconnect it or get a flatbed trailer. I could tell you right now, from Iowa to Texas, it's $1,500. That's how much the rental is for that. Then you got to tap in for gas, which is, I'm assuming, estimate rough price of $800. That's my budget for it in gas. And then there's obviously, like in Texas, for my apartment, you only have to pay a deposit, and you will get that back if you don't get approved. You'll have to pay a deposit and a screening fee. If you don't have an ESA dog, you'll have to pay $25 for the pet screening. If you have an ESA, none of that matters. But if you do have a pet, it's like $200 per pet. There's all kinds of other fees that go involved in that. And so you have to get all that all squared away first. So these are all things that like you really need to think about and start writing down and dialing in, because it is a lot and get overwhelming if you wait for like the last week. I've had in the last week I pretty much dialed in everything: gas, electric, transferring and mail, renter's insurance. You're going to need that. That's a big thing. They won't let you at the apartment without it. I know a lot of people try to get around renter's insurance, but not in Texas. You're not going to be able to do that, and not here in Iowa either. I needed a renter's insurance here. Now the ESA dog in Iowa is different. They didn't. Just the landlord just accepted a doctor's note, and that's all you needed to do. They don't use a pet screening process. So every state's different, but I can tell you right now that Austin is not. Everyone is going to use that pet screening process, and it's not. You're not going to have some doctor's note that says he can live with this dog. That's not what it's going to be in Texas. So out there, it's going to be very specific and dialed in. So, you know, you're going to have to get, like I said, renter's insurance, gas, electric, all your utilities, internet, and all that stuff dialed in. And you have to have that all set up on your move-in day. Now, where I'm moving in, I'm not going to say the name of the apartment, but where I'm moving in Cedar Park, you pay on your move-in day. So that you pay my first rent, and that's all. So it's I already paid a deposit, so it's $1,600 or whatever. It's expensive. Austin is not cheap, but I'm also making a lot of money, so that's good. You know, your pay is going to be up higher than most states, so that's really good. I mean, a lot of places want you to make 3 times the rent in 1 month. And as far as like your credit score goes, if, like I said, if you have any kind of evictions in the last 2 years, or any kind of delinquent like utility bills, you will not be getting an apartment at any higher end luxury apartment in Texas. You could probably rent from some like personal person if you know people out there. That can be very difficult. I did have a couple of backup plans for that. Like, there was just one guy's name was Leonard or whatever his name was, I don't know, but he was extremely rude to me. He was like, well, you should, because I was like, well, my credit score is this, and I explained my situation, and I'm like, he's like, well, you know, if anything, we'll just need $8,000. And I'm like, $8,000? He's like, well, if you're 38 and you don't have $8,000, I don't want you living here. And I'm like, you're a dickhead. But like, I didn't say that to him, but I'm like thinking in my head, because I don't have time to argue with people, and I also don't have time to get denied because I was, you know, arguing with this guy or something. So I kind of had to like take it and eat it. But this guy was really rude, and the place was an absolute dump. Like, when I looked into the pictures of it, I'm like, you want how much for this place? And it had a huge yard or whatever. But he said he would approve the dog without the ESA thing, no problem with restricted breeds as long as she's not super aggressive. Some people want to do a meet and greet, so from out of state that could be difficult. So there's so many variables that go into it, but guys, it is not impossible. Now, if you have kids, like I've talked to a few people who have kids, like, well, I can't move because I have kids. And like, for me, it's like, if you want to move, your kids are going to have to go where the money is. Like, if you're their parent, you got to move. And I understand, like, people are divorced and they have family and all that stuff, but you know, everybody, like I said, everybody's different, but it is not impossible to do. You find a new school, you know, people, I know a lot of people are really always worried about like not having family around to help them, but you would be very surprised how easy it is to make new friends. And out of these new friends, you'd be very surprised about how helpful they are for you in times of need, especially like if you're not a dick and you're really a good friend and you're somebody who will always pay it back in one way or another, you know, not money, but like, you know, like if they need help like moving, or, you know, maybe they need help building a tree house or something or whatever, you know, just like help them and you will receive that help back. So you just got to kind of, I've noticed that a lot when I moved to Iowa, when my ex-girlfriend moved away and I was kind of left out here by myself and I needed help with like storm, or if I had to work and I got in a motorcycle accident, nearly killed, and I was in the hospital for 3 days, and like I had to rely on friends to come and let the dog out, and they absolutely helped me with that. So, you know, like you'd be very surprised about what people are willing to do if you're actually just a good person. So it's really not that big of a deal to get help with babysitters or people to watch your kids or animals or anything like that. So people are always super helpful if you meet the right people and bring those people into your life and keep your circle very small. I've never had an issue with it. So one thing to keep in mind is that it's just not impossible. Like, I know a lot of people feel like they're so restricted because of all those things, but like when you actually just get up and do it, and it's actually really easy. It's not bad at all. And at this point, I've done it 3 times. Like, this is the, you know, I wouldn't necessarily count moving my ex-girlfriend from California to here my thing, but like I helped her do it, and I know what she went through, and just gauging by her experience, it wasn't that hard for her either. I mean, she left all of her friends and her, well, I don't want to talk about her business on there, but you know, she did a lot of things to risk to come out here too. She really banged that up pretty good when she got out here, but you know, pretty sure she's fine nowadays, but I have no idea. But anyway, gauging by that experience from her and from what I had to go through and all these things, it'll work out for you, you know, like, yeah, so the more, there's another option too, like if you don't want to take all your stuff, you can sell things. Like I sold a lot of stuff. That really limits like how much you're gonna have to pack. It's not that hard to start over, like it's only just things, you know. Take like some really personal items, you know, like, and you know, go with that. You know, I know people who moved across the country, like my friend Alicia. She's lived in Utah, came to Iowa. I mean, she literally came out here with a suitcase and a pillow, and like, you know, she's like a traveling nurse or something. She gears all over the place, and I know a lot of people that do it, so it's really not that hard to do. And it's fun, you know. Like Austin's the end place for me. I don't see myself moving out of there ever. Obviously I have no idea what it's like. I've never been there, and that's a little bit troubling for a lot of people. Like if you do have the option to fly out there, like maybe you have some vacation time and you know, you do have a little bit of money. For me, I just didn't have, I wasn't set up like that this last month to actually just come out to Austin. I had the time off, but everything became like so hectic and crazy, especially when I got in the accident, that I just didn't have time to go out there and look around and experience it and see where I wanted to move. I just had to kind of look online, go by YouTubers, and just a lot of pictures. Like where I'm moving in Cedar Park is really, really nice. It's an upscale type neighborhood. It's a luxury apartment that I'm moving into, and it's a super nice area. I know there's areas you want to avoid in Austin, very specific areas that are small. It's not a bad city at all. But yeah, you can find all that stuff online, and YouTubers are a great source of information for all that. But that's kind of like the gist of it in the rundown. I mean, it's really not that difficult. I mean, like I said, you get the job, you find a place to live, and from there you just plan out like when your moving date, and then from when you want to get your moving date, you talk to the place you want to move in, you sign the lease, get that all done. If you are months and months in the decision-making process of this, and I'm telling you this, and you're like, oh wow, I do have this delinquent payment or this eviction or whatever, you're gonna want to clear that up. So either pay that thing off and get that stuff out of the way now, and then so in a year or whatever, when all that stuff gets off your credit, because it does take some time. Like just because you pay something on your credit doesn't mean it's going to evaporate off your credit score instantly. It takes quite some time for that all to go through. If you have an eviction, that's going to be a problem for you, honestly, especially if it was in the last year. If it's like 3 years, then you're fine. Probably you're fine if it's 3 years. They're not going to go back that far. But if you had an eviction within the last 2 years, you're not going to get an apartment anywhere in Austin, Texas. You just aren't. You might be able to get like some low income housing or something. Generally speaking, like I'm not going to judge people or whatever, but if you have an eviction, you probably don't make a lot of money anyway, so you might be able to get some kind of help from the state with that and all that. So I don't know how that all works because I don't go through that kind of thing, but that's an option for you if you're watching this. Not judging you, everybody has their own deal, and you know, I've been through bankruptcies and foreclosures, and like I said, I had an eviction filed against me. But some of you may remember this situation on the channel, because this is the apartment I started my channel on. When I started my channel, I lived in this apartment, duplex actually. I was on the bottom, my uncle was on the top. Just started my YouTube channel with Storms in that. She's a puppy. That's the video, has like 600,000 views. All the puppy videos have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views. Millions actually. But I think the channel's upwards on like 5 million views or something like that. But anyways, when Storm was a puppy, some of you remember this, that apartment there is the one that guy filed an eviction. Now the story with that is, we were renting that duplex, me and my uncle, from a family friend, and that family friend had sold the duplex. And the day that he got the duplex in his name, that he closed on the house, he kicked me out. And he said, you need to be out, I want to move in. Yeah, and you have to be out in a month. And I pretty much, and some of you remember me making this video about this, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere, dude. You have to give me some time to move. And he was like, well, I'll file the eviction. I'm like, do whatever you got to do. Not thinking 3 years in advance that that may affect me. But I already knew that even if he did evict me, he would lose it in court, because the court in Philadelphia, there's, you know, I would never use squatter rights, but there is such a thing as that. And so, like, that is for a landlord in that situation who is literally kicking me out in 30 days. And I'm like, bro, I have to find a place to live. I have a dog, like, and all these things. So he did the eviction, and then we went to court, and he lost. And so the judge ruled that I was to stay until November 15th. And I actually moved out October 1st, and that's when I got the house on Richmond Street, which is where a lot of my videos, where you guys will remember that house in Philadelphia, there on Richmond Street, where the riots happened and the looting and all that craziness. So yeah, that's kind of the story there. He lost that in court, but if you go back, you will see that that eviction was filed August 14th, 2019. So that became an issue for one apartment that went back that far. Now, like I said, you find the ones that are 2 years back. It's not that they don't even look at it, so it's fine. So there are options. But like I said, if you do actually have an eviction from like the last 2 years, you're kind of screwed. If you have a dog that's a restricted breed, like I said, ESA, I'll leave the link below for that. The doctor's note you can get from your family doctor, or you can use the link below. But it's got to be very descriptive, what your condition is, what the life activity it limits, breed, weight, all that stuff, color of the dog, what the dog's name is, all that information has to be in that note. It's got to be legit. Don't think you're going to get some fake doctor. Gonna check, they're going to call, they're going to make sure it's a doctor. That's the pet screening process in Austin. So that's kind of what I got for you guys. That's how you move to Austin. That's how I'm moving to Austin, and I'm super excited. Like I said, it was really bad timing with the accident. Like I said this in other videos, and money is so tight right now. I'm actually really counting on the check to come for the bike, to use some of that to make sure I can get all this done smoothly. If it doesn't come, I have a backup plan, but it is what it is. But like I said, you know, anything can happen like that. So, like, you know, just make sure you're prepared in advance. And I always have a plan on top of a plan on top of a plan. And, you know, always have someone maybe you can call to maybe help you out if you know, really get down to it. Just, you know, that's like a plan C for me. Like, you know, maybe I'll call a friend for, you know, a couple $100 if I run out of gas halfway to Austin, or some crazy nonsense happens. Like, always have some kind of plan, because something is going to go wrong almost every time. Like for me, when I moved from Philly here, you guys will remember these videos too. Like when I got the trailer, the back wheel seized up on the trailer the day I was supposed to move. So like I had to wait for them to come a new trailer. It was a mess. Like that whole thing was crazy. My truck came loose halfway in Indianapolis. I got pulled over. It was just crazy. There's always going to be something that happens, so you got to be prepared for that. In my case, the worst case scenario happened. Like getting hit by a car on a motorcycle is probably the worst case scenario, especially when I'm starting a new job at Tesla. And it's like, you know, oh, we got one of these, you know, it's like, you know, you got the new guy, oh, the new guy get hit by a car and like broke his shoulder, now he can't start. It's like, oh, one of these guys, you know. It's like, so I'm very lucky that I'm not injured. I don't care about like some kind of medical payout, like faking injuries or whatever. Like, you know, I didn't get hurt. I got lucky, and I'd rather be able to walk than get some giant payout from a medical bill. Now, I'm going to get compensated for lost time at work and all these other things, and all that. But without getting too crazy into all that, I'm just very fortunate that everything's going to work out. But like I said, things are going to go wrong probably at some point or another. In my situation, I had a lot of things thrown at me, like the motorcycle accident, the one apartment denying me that goes back too far. Then I had the doctor's note that didn't work out good enough. I had to get another doctor's note. And so it's just been really hectic. And but yeah, it's gonna work out. And not to scare you from moving, but you know, if you're moving down the street, it's gonna be a lot easier. But when you're going state to state, it's a big leap. And it's really exciting though. Once you get there and you get moved in, you start your life over and everything works out. And yeah, so that's kind of what I'm going through right now. And it's I wanted to share that experience with you guys, because a lot of y'all are like, I can't do this because of this job that I have, or whatever kind of situation you think you got yourself stuck in that you can't get out of. No matter what it is, you can 100% do whatever you put your mind to. In January, I never thought it would be possible. I work at Tesla when I was filling that application out. And now in just 2 weeks, I will be walking into the Gigafactory as an employee. And I could not be more excited, you know. So like, share, subscribe, guys. And the next video I do will be motorcycle safety gear. I'm going to do a big video on that. I got a new helmet on the way from Elizabeth Wonders, who is graceful enough to send me another Arai helmet, although this time I'm paying her back for it. So a little bit different circumstances there. We kind of made a deal that if she got me the helmet, she would allow me to pay her back for it so I could keep the channel going. Because either I get a bike and I can't get a helmet and I can't ride because I refuse. I refuse, and we'll talk about this in the unboxing video of that helmet, but I absolutely refuse to get on a motorcycle without an Arai Corsair X on. It's just not going to happen. I understand there's helmets that can save you and that are certified, but I can't really express to you guys what it's like to smash your head on the ground and slide across the concrete on your face and have a helmet save you and not have a head injury, and then like be like, oh, I'm just gonna get a different helmet now. It's just such a crazy experience that no, there's no other helmet I'd ever wear. So we talked about it, and you know, I thought about it, and I let her send me another one, and I'm gonna be paying her back for that. So that's to keep the channel going. I'm very gracious for her. She's like, you know, talk to her all the time, and you know, Elizabeth Wonders channel will be linked below. Check her out. She is literally saving the channel. She already saved my life. I mean, she's gonna come out to Austin. We're gonna be doing some riding videos and stuff whenever that happens. But make sure you guys go check out her channel, and you know, because I don't exist without her. And this helmet I got is all white for the I want it to be like an angel, because an angel, and there's all kind of sentimental things. I'll talk about that in that other video. But anyways, like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one, and that's it. Love you all. Peace.